Happy Friday, everybody. It is May, and we missed May the 4th be with you. So I'm a day behind, but May the 4th be with you, Francis.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That went over his head. I come from a Star Wars family.
Clearly.
So, we all know the future of senior care depends on caregivers. I was astounded to find out recently that there are 6.9 million caregiver job openings in the U.S. today.
Not caregivers, but caregiver openings.
Job openings. That's how many we are looking for. And so today we're going to be talking with Leslie Fuller of Inspired Senior Care about solutions to improve retention and team satisfaction for the staff that you do have. Very important topic.
But before we do that, we have a message from our sponsor, Dignity Hospice.
We are delighted to have Dignity Hospice sponsor our show this month. Dignity Hospice of Colorado shares our passion and drive to serve humanity with honor, love, and care. They continually examine the way things have always been done and unceasingly improve the care they provide. As one of the largest privately owned hospice organizations in the state, Dignity's service offerings and consistencies have continually placed them at the top of the preferred provider choice list in many communities. Pro tip: they are one of the select few hospice organizations that offer 6 to 7 CNA visits per week. This, along with massage therapy and 1 to 2 RN visits a week, truly allows Dignity Hospice to provide exceptional care to their patients. Dignity serves patients and their families across the Denver area, from Castle Rock to Fort Collins. Dignity Hospice is a bright spot in the field of senior care in every sense of the word.
And welcome back. And with that, we are focusing on our bright spots. And I can't think of a brighter spot than what Leslie does at Inspired Senior Care, and how her philosophy around training enables our teams to thrive, as well as the families and the communities that they surround. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us.
It is awesome to be here. I've enjoyed chatting with you guys this morning already. It's been great.
Yes, absolutely. So Leslie, kind of tell us a little bit about Inspired Senior Care and just where it came from.
Where it came from is really important. I was a dementia care manager, executive director for a very large company prior to going out on my own. And in that role, I went out and taught hundreds, thousands of people across the country a 2-day class on dementia care. And it was an amazing curriculum. It was fabulous, and they got a lot out of it. And it was designed for leadership, so new people who came to the company. But when they left, they'd say, "Can you come to our community and teach this to my staff?" I'm like, "No, I teach leadership, and you go back." But I knew what ended up happening was they took they may have had it in their head and their heart, but they took the binder back, put it on the shelf, and started dealing with the emergencies of the day within their community. And then that was it. And I really saw that there was a need for tools to take back to the communities to be able to teach what they learned. Ooh, that looks great. Anyway, so what I did was I left that field at the very beginning of COVID, and not intentionally, but I left intentionally, but not due to COVID. Anyway, I just decided to start creating the tools that leaders could use to help them give that message on a daily basis. As I was looking at that Dignity Hospice list, they listed all those different things that we do for residents on a regular basis. But what are we doing for staff on a regular basis to help continue to encourage them and teach them and help them learn what it takes to have a strong environment, to have a strong culture, to communicate better with our residents, to develop relationships? So anyway, I could keep going and tell you all about all the tools, but that's kind of how I got here.
So I mean, do you think there's a gap in our education almost, that we focus so much on how we provide the care for that resident, that client, that patient, however you want to term it, that we often forget what can we do for that team member to empower them?
That's an understatement, that there's a gap.
Okay.
That's an understatement.
and I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the training that goes on, there's some good videos out there, it has good content, But when we put our staff just in front of a computer and then they get done, and oftentimes, and I've watched it happen, here they are watching their class and they're on their phone, they're texting. They're not getting quality education. But at the end of watching it, guess what? We got to check the box. We met the state requirements. We're done. And then go to work, go take care of these individuals. And by the way, here's your checklist of all the stuff you need to get done today. Yeah. I want to come up with a list of all the things that you need to interact. The checklist is what needs to be done. I want to help them learn how to do it and how to do it so that it has a positive impact on the residents, has a positive impact on them as staff members, that they don't feel like a robot that just has all this stuff they have to get done. I have created what I call the 2-minute rule. And I say, I know this is hard, and you're going to tell me, oh, we can't do it. But I say, when you go in to, let's say, help Francis take a shower, or we go in to do some assessment or something, before you even talk about that, you have to take 2 minutes just to be with them, to engage, to work on your relationship, to smile with them, to laugh with them, to share the excitement of what your 2.5-year-old son did yesterday and watch them smile in response to that. Because at the end of that 2 minutes, guess what? You've raised the possibility of having success in that interaction tremendously, because you've developed trust and you've developed relationship just in that 2.5 minutes. It's good for everybody. It's good for the staff member. It's good for the resident, and it's good for the community. And I like to say that when we invest that 2 minutes, it's if you have an interaction that ends up being a bad reaction because you're pushing somebody too hard, and then all hell breaks loose and a bad situation happens, guess what? How much time do you spend writing that incident report? How much time does the executive director spend on the phone, emails with the state, doing all this stuff? So when leadership say, well, we don't have time for that. Yes, you do. It's reallocation of that time.
You agreed. Absolutely agreed. You don't have time not to do it. And I can tell you from personal experience, my dad was a tough one to get in the shower sometimes. He was in assisted living, and the caregivers who came in and were transactional about it, it's time to shower, let's get in the shower, would often find themselves at odds with my dad, and they would end up calling the one caregiver on staff who always took the time to sit and chat with dad for a few minutes and build that relationship before ever bringing up the idea that it was time to take a shower.
Right.
Do you think, though, we've created this problem because of how we staff and how we look at assisted living, memory care operations, where, we're running a 1-15 staffing ratio now. And so, we're 1-12 in some spots, 1-18, right? Because of the staffing challenges. I mean, if I'm somebody that's a staff member, I go, well, I've got 18 residents. I can't spend more than like 4 minutes an hour with them. How am I going to do my 2 minutes you want plus the 15 minutes I need to do to whatever, get them to take their meds? I mean, I think we've created this problem ourselves because we've made senior living too transactional.
Yeah, it feels so transactional, doesn't it? Check the box on
100%.
education, right? I sat in front of the computer and I answered the questions right, even though I retained nothing. I have X number of people, ratio staff to resident.
So do you see the problem as kind of twofold, Leslie, where we have to obviously make sure we're empowering and training the staff member? I love your 2-minute drill. I think that is phenomenal. Great idea. But we also kind of almost have to train the leadership, right? The I want to say, the financial component of how you have to look at this, right? Because I think so often they're getting directive from corporate, right? That doesn't necessarily know what goes on, the boots on the ground per se. I mean, how do we blend those two challenges?
I think that conversation's been going on as long as I've been in senior living.
Great
And
answer.
one of the philosophies that my company had was, if you take care of the resident, the bottom line will take care of itself.
Agreed.
But oftentimes companies don't see it that way. They may say it, but it's just lip service, and they're not really allowing and coaching and providing opportunity for that to happen, especially in assisted living and memory care. And, skilled, they have their whole other world of regulations. That's why I don't work in skilled.
Yeah.
It's too much. But we have to recognize that this is a people business. This isn't a manufacturing plant. It's not a warehouse. And when we look at it from the perspective of it's a checklist and we have to do this and this and this and that, we totally lose sight of that. And I think the communities that are really successful and are top of their game, they get it. They get that if we do our job right in creating that culture, we will have full census. We will have a waiting list. We will have staff that have longevity and that stay there. And my whole goal is to help bring that message to other communities and also to smaller companies. I worked for a very large company, and so we had a lot of me on staff, and we were that resource. But these companies that have maybe 5 locations, 10 locations, they can't afford to have the memory care or a coaching person on staff the whole time. But the way I've designed my program is I give it to them, and then I stay with them for the 13 months of the program. It's a 13-month continuation program, so that I'm there with them every month to focus on, okay, how did this month go? Let's look at next month. The way my program works is I have a different topic each month that all of my clients are focused on at the same time.
What an inspirational way to deliver education, because it does not happen the academic way of sitting in front of a computer and checking the boxes, right? No. In people-centered care. So can you tell us, share some stories from some of your successful organizations that have really embraced what you're doing?
So I have an organization that really expanded my mind. My first client is in Washington and Oregon, and they have 10. And when I got started with them, not only do they have assisted living and memory care, but they have a behavioral health community. Wow. Okay. And I hadn't even thought about taking my message and my message there. One of the executive directors there is one of the tools that I've created are conversation cards. So allowing for little micro lessons each day at stand-up meeting, at shift change. And he loves these cards because it is providing little tips on, like, let's say, for example, this month's message is about word choice matters. The words that we use, if we call ourselves a locked unit and we're a facility and we provide toileting and feeding, guess what? We're going to act that way, and we're going to treat our residents with that in mind. But if we get staff to shift to, we're not a facility. A facility is like a warehouse, right? We're a true community. We have residents who live here. If they need support in dining, we're going to be there to partner with them, to help them. We do have a safe and secure environment. We're not a locked unit. Let's think about it. What is a locked unit? That is prison. That is what prison is.
The way
right. So getting staff, when do you have a chance as a leader to have these kind of conversations with your staff? I mean, and all of them at the same time. I have 224 conversation cards.
Wow. That's cool. That is really cool, though.
Yeah.
This is exciting. So I want to call attention to something, because we talk a lot about words, the use of words, what should be the terminology that we are all adopting. And interestingly, I work with a lot of hospice organizations. Dignity Hospice is one of the best, and they do not do this. But I see this all over the United States, where the hospice organization says, I am working with this ALF, that facility. So we have multiple layers of care for the people that we love the most. And one of those layers of care could be home health, it could be home care, it could be hospice. They also need to get in on not calling it a facility.
Yep.
Because if they have that mindset,
a locked unit, I hear hospital discharge planners say, "Oh, this person needs a locked unit."
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
How
mean,
dare you
yeah.
say that about my mom, right?
Right.
Like that's the reaction.
Well, I think there is a stigma around that because I think families, when they're looking for memory care, they're more apt to having a non-secured memory care because it seems so prison-like because of how the terminology is, right? They rather try assisted living, even though their loved one probably isn't appropriate, but it just looks not, I mean, it has a better feel to it or word to it, right?
Yeah.
Than secured. When someone says, you need a secured unit.
Yeah.
What the? What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Right.
So, how is people responding to that word choice or that word language when you have began talking about it?
Oh, I did a training yesterday, a presentation to a group of home care agencies. And I have a lesson that I do, which I take the same scenario and I do it in the institutional wording. And then I take the same scenario and do it in the person-centered or relationship-centered example. And I always start off by saying, and I asked volunteers to read this because I want them to say how they felt saying the words, right? And I bring them up and I say, these two people are kind, compassionate, wonderful people who want to work in our field. This one happens to be being trained and going into a community that is institutional. So this is what they're being fed. This is how they're being taught. This is how they're being guided on how to think about the people that they're caring for. This person, on the other hand, is being supported and taught by people who understand this is just life for these people. They're not in a facility. They're not there to be done to, or this is their life. And we're making it good for them. We're making it positive for them. So I really try to say it's not the fault of people using the words. Nobody's bad for using these words. It takes realizing the impact that even saying these words. Like I asked the gal yesterday, I said, she did the institutional piece. And I said, how did you feel saying those? And she said, I really felt depressed. And I said, wow. How do you think your family members who are bringing their loved one for day one, how do you think they're feeling? Probably depressed and they're scared. Oh my God, what decision have I made? I hate putting mom here. I'm putting mom here. I mean, that's another term, right? We're not putting anybody any place. We want to be able to help them move in to this new community where they're going to make friends and they're going to have lots of support around them to do what they want to do.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And Alyssa Trujillo posted something here. It's difficult for me to hear in communities when folks refer to memory care as back there. I hear that one.
Thank you, Melissa. I hate that. Why is it back there? And that terminology goes really back to the time when literally if family members were living with dementia and they called it suffering from, right? That they were hidden away because it was shameful. And it's not good. Yeah. Good point. I hate that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's the stigma around it that I keep running into is the stigma of being in public with that even diagnosis, not even maybe who knows where someone is on their journey, but even hearing that word, I can't do that. I've got dementia. It's like, what? You can't go for a walk outside? Can't go, you can't do something because someone told you have X diagnoses.
It's all the you can't and not here's what you can do.
Correct.
And let's do what you can. It impacts so many people. So it impacts the staff. I love that you talked about how it made that person feel depressed just to talk about it that way. Mm-hmm. Now that's your staff member who's now giving that impression and, energy to the residents they're caring for. Mm-hmm. Your residents don't want to feel that way. Families don't want to think about their loved one that way. And then I make that extra connection of all the other people who are layering in additional care also could bring in that negative energy and affect the care of that older adult. So we all have to work. We're a system. Mm-hmm. We're a system. So systems theory says you get exactly the results that the system is designed for. So we love having you on here, Leslie, because you, like us, are all about how do we design the system differently, and you are making that change. And so thank you so much for joining us. We have a question for you before we let you go.
Yes.
Yes. So you joined us last year at Collaboration in Aging. Can you tell our audience what you thought of the event? Why was it different than other events?
You know, I'm new in business, in my own personal business. So it was one of the earlier conventions that I had attended. And what I loved about it was that all of the people who were there were truly there to learn and grow and help create solutions versus some of the other conventions are great. You get knowledge there, but a lot of the others are very kind of commercial, right? It's all about what can we sell to people. And I get that. I need to sell my program too. But it was just a different environment. And I even had somebody there on the team who saw my program and said, hey, Leslie, Colorado is changing the laws. They're looking to change that. You need to understand this and become a part of that. And I really felt welcomed there. I wasn't just an attendee. I was a part of it and felt welcomed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for saying that, because that's what we want. Every single person there is participating in creating change. So thank you. Thank you. And we're trying to get Leslie there this year for those of you listening. So she has a conflict, but we're trying to work it out.
But thank you, Leslie, for jumping on today. And we really appreciate you're truly a bright spot for how you're approaching working with those, that are living with dementia and other challenges, but also how you're focusing not only on the residents, but also the community as well as the staff members, which I think sometimes are often overlooked. And your philosophy, your programming is just a breath of fresh air in a much needed space in order to improve and challenge the way we age. So thank you so very much.
So listeners, yes. And listeners, make sure you check out Leslie's website, InspiredSeniorCare.org. We have it on here. We will put it in the show notes as well as in the comments so that you can find her and ask questions and see what can be done. Go ahead, Leslie, please.
I just wanted to throw out there too that I had a home care agency ask me about the conversation cards because they said our staff are never together at the same time. And I said, would an app be helpful? And they said, yes. So I made an app. So if any of you want to go in, and you can look at a lot of it for free, it's Inspired Senior Care. Take a look at it. It's a brand new app, and we're still kind of working some bugs out, but it's working pretty well right now. So take a look at it. I also have an Instagram that I post content on every month. Same concepts, just to encourage anybody out there to learn and grow in this.
And we'll tag all of that and put that in show notes as well so people know how to find you on those platforms. Is the app available in both Android as well as Apple? Awesome.
It is, yeah.
We will put a link for that as well, too.
That's exciting.
That is awesome. And yes, thank you. That is great to know, because sometimes, organizations just aren't always able to be together. And so having those tools that enable us to just function more efficiently remotely is fantastic. So thank you so much, Leslie. This has been an absolute pleasure.
I've loved it. Thank you again.
Thanks, Leslie. All right, it is time for us to move into Mavericks moments.
Well, we have some
good ones.
It's been a busy, it's going to be a busy year. It's going to be a busy few years here. So why don't ladies first?
Ladies first. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, so my topic today is about grief camps for kids, sponsored by hospice organizations. I had never heard of this. So I came across this in my newsfeed today that there is a hospice organization in East Texas that is called Camp Aaron, and it is a bereavement camp for kids. And I'm just so impressed by this whole idea that there is something specialized around kids, because I've witnessed it myself. I had a friend pass at 36 who had 2 young children. Yeah. And, the difference a camp like this could make versus not having all of the support and just kind of being told, sorry, your mom died, tough it out. I was just so in awe. So I just wanted to raise the conversation. And then I reached out to my good friend, Greg Grabowski from Hospice Advisors, and said, hey, have you ever heard of this? They're consultants in the industry. And he knows just everything in the industry. And he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I started one of these at a larger hospice company
really
that he used to work for. So I did not know these existed out there. And I just wanted to raise the awareness.
Well, I'm going to raise the awareness, but why stop with just kids? Because think about the challenges that anyone faces when they lose. Maybe this is, again, I think kids need to be a focus, don't get me wrong, because losing a parent, I think at a young age is very impactful. But I was just thinking maybe it's not a camp, but maybe there's more than just support groups, right? For bereavement. I don't know. I feel like the more we can look beyond what we currently have today, might give us some hope for
that is great.
Future.
That's why you are the chief curiosity Maverick.
Like that,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. And for younger kids, being around people who are their age group, who are going through it too, I think can be really impactful.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. So mine kind of goes a little bit of a different direction. We're going to focus on some of the staffing challenges that we have here. And this article I came across beginning of the month was in McKnight's, and it talks about some ideas to solve this nursing home issue of staffing, which obviously nursing home has some different challenges, but it also impacts, I think, assisted living and memory care. And it's interesting. One of the lines that I think, and I'm going to mess it up, is this is not just a nursing home issue. It's an issue for all of us, right? The staffing challenges across nursing homes impacts everyone. Right. It's not just that nursing
This is
home.
everyone's
It's the community, problem. It's the residents, it's their families, it's all of that stuff. And I think we just need to do a better job of, one, appreciating the work that's put in by those direct care staff, whether it's a caregiver, a CNA, a nurse, an LPN, whatever their title is. If they're having the tough discussions and the challenges of working with residents that might not always want them there, we need to appreciate them and really frame that differently. And I think going off of words matter, stop using unskilled, some of those words that are thrown out there. I think that's important to remove that and focus on truly what they're doing. But in this article, it had a couple good ideas I thought of one, looking at a way to provide some type of educational support for those that want to go into nursing, right? Whether it's local or federal government support. I think that's a great idea. I also think there is this concept of looking at immigration, right? How can we look at our immigration policy to bring in some of that skilled labor from other countries? And one that isn't on here that I'm still a very big proponent of is affordable housing. How can we as providers work with local jurisdictions or state or federal levels to get some carve-outs for how we can do that appropriately within the legal structure, within the Department of Labor, right, within the labor standards, to give our team members a chance at affordable housing. That has to be part of this conversation. So, and I know, like Leslie said, so many of these conversations have been around since the beginning of senior care. And that is true in any industry. You're always talking about what are the challenges, and some of the challenges persist, but they change. They change color maybe, or they change shape a little bit, but we're still talking about them. And this is our opportunity. It is the opportunity for all of us to think differently, flip it on its head. I think it's action and execution that we've got a lot of talking, right? Now at some point, someone needs to take that action and then execute upon that action. Right. And there's no, magic wand. No. If we had one, it would have been waved. Right? I don't think, and there's not one solution. Right. I mean, I think the idea that we're going to find this grandiose solution that's going to solve it all is no, I think it's bits and pieces that we pull together, both from currently within our industry, from other industries, and from things that have yet to be created. Yes. So I think we have to stop looking just within our industry of how we solve the challenges that are going on, and look beyond that scope and say, okay, we're here because of the system we've created, right? As you always say. Yep. So. Yeah. All right. Well, we're very excited. Keep in mind that Collaboration in Aging is happening November 27th and 28th, Denver, Colorado. If you have not registered, you have how many days, Francis? 10, I think? We got 10 until the super early bird expires. This is the best pricing that you're going to get, and I recommend you get on it before the 15th of May. Links are all available on collaborationaging.com. This is going to be an event that you cannot miss. This is an event that is going to challenge you both emotionally, mentally, physically. We've got some really great things in there that are going to make you feel. We don't want this to just sit there and take a lecture.
This is what we call an unconference.
Yes.
So if you like to go to the conferences that you go to a session and you sit and you hear and you get educated, fabulous.
Right.
Those are wonderful. This is not that conference. So come with your sleeves rolled up, ready to dive in, ready to collaborate, and ready to take action.
And ready to be uncomfortable. Because I think that when you're put in an uncomfortable spot, that's when you can really recognize and remember some things. So
it's a very good point.
So yeah.
And thank you again to our sponsors, Dignity Hospice. They are an incredible hospice organization here in the Denver area, serving from Castle Rock to Fort Collins and everything in between.
And a big thank you to Leslie and Inspired Senior Care. Make sure to check out her website, inspiredseniorcare.org. If you are tired of this traditional approaches for training and so forth, this is a site, this is a team, this is an individual that you must check out, because it is time that we stop doing it how we've always done it and begin to look forward to new opportunities and new successes for our teams and for our entities and everyone involved, and our stakeholders and our families and everybody. So until next time, do good, pay it forward, and we will see you next Friday.